Do you have a Swedish death cleaning problem? Have you tried to declutter and you just don't know why you are not getting results? Have you actually looked into maybe why you have that clutter in the first place? Because I think once you look at this Swedish death cleaning instincts, you might just be like, oh my gosh, that is exactly what it is. Now, if this is your first time here, my name is Robyn. I help overwhelmed people simplify their lives through organization, productivity, and creating an environment where they can thrive. Now grab your tea and let's go. So a lot of people, when they want to declutter, they start looking at all of these things that they have accumulated and they're kind of like, I don't even understand why I have all of this stuff in the first place. And I think it's really kind of funny because we actually, all of us have a lot in common, and there can be some common themes for why we have clutter in the first place. And for me, I love the Swedish death cleaning instincts, and personally, there's one that I really resonate with, and I will get to that in a minute, but I'm going to describe them. And I want you to let me know in the comments which one of these you can identify with the most, because guaranteed you can identify with at least one of them. Even if you aren't a total clutter bug who has a lot of things, you still, I bet, can identify with at least one of these, and it might even be with all of them. Swedish death cleaning was described by a lady named Margareta Magnusson, and she wrote a book called Städning, which is the gentle art of Swedish death cleaning. Now, she wrote this book because her husband died, unfortunately, but he also left her with a lot of things. He left her with a lot of tools and a lot of things that he wasn't using. And it occurred to her that a lot of people leave things to their loved ones before they pass away, and there are things that they aren't using, and that ultimately it's not really fair to leave things to people, and that you should be decluttering throughout your life. But, you know, some people say as you get closer to death, but I argue that you should be living with less clutter now so that you can enjoy your life without being held back by all of that clutter. Margareta describes 3 instincts when it comes to Swedish death cleaning. And the first instinct is the instinct of clutter. Now, the instinct of clutter is where a lot of people, where they like to have things around them. The idea of a minimal, empty room stresses them out. Now, this can stress a lot of people out, and I'm not pressuring anybody to go that route. I certainly haven't gone that route when it comes to our home with minimalism. But people who really have the clutter instinct, they like to have things around. I have talked before about how when I was younger, my dad would like to have all of the small appliances on the counter. It made him feel good. He was like, hey, I can cook whatever I want. There's my food processor. There's my blender. My mom, she wanted the stuff put away because she didn't like to look at all of it. But for him, it made him feel good. It made him feel secure. He liked having those things out. A lot of people have this. They like to have things out. They like to see their things. They feel comforted by them. But at the same time, if you like to have those things out, you probably don't need all of the stuff you're keeping. And for people who have a real clutter problem, the clutter instinct can be an issue because they have a lot of stuff around them, too much stuff around them, and quite often it is stressing them out. They might not even realize it. The second instinct is the hoarding instinct. Now, this instinct is very interesting, and I think a lot of people can identify with this one. This is when people like to just have things, just in case. This is an instinct that I think, and honestly, I think these instincts go way back, and that's why I think she calls them instincts, because they are just fundamental to so many of us. Now, if you look at people who lived through the Great Depression, they did not have a lot of food. They did not have a lot of clothes. They would get bags of flour, and those bags of flour were lined with fabric, and this fabric women would use to make clothing out of because things were so scarce. So as time went on, those people grew up, they had kids, and you would keep things. You would keep everything. As my mom will describe it, is you keep things for good. You keep things because you could use it one day. You could use it in the future. You would never dream of decluttering anything back in that period of time because there just was not a lot of things that people grew up with. So then these people grew up and they had kids and they taught these same things to their kids. Now in this time, the world has changed. Things were made more cheaply. You know, I was watching this show. I love this show. It's called Victorian Farm, Wartime Farm, Edwardian Farm. Things back in those ages were made to last. They literally in the Victorian Farm could grab a piece of farm equipment and still use it today because the mechanisms all still work. Things were made so well and they were made to last. Now, things aren't really made to last. Some would argue things are made to actually die after a while so that you have to buy more. But the other thing is things became more inexpensive to produce. So things were made of plastic and it was just easier to buy things. And when you go through the period of like the 70s and the 80s and even the 90s, people were just consuming. And I think that is when the actual idea of shopping for an actual hobby came in, because people were like, I'm just gonna go shopping, and they would just look for things to buy. I now recognize that that is just not a good thing to do. It's not a healthy thing to do. It's one thing to go out with the actual idea that you have something you need to buy in mind. Personally, I don't even like shopping. And it could be because when I was a kid in the 80s and the 90s, my mom would take us to the mall and we'd be like, oh my gosh, when are we going home? And that's nothing against my mom. I think everybody's mom did that. But I just don't even like going to the mall unless I really have something to buy. And if I do, I basically have researched it ahead of time. And hopefully I know exactly what I'm getting so I can get in and out. I digress. So this is the thing with the hoarding instinct is people have just kept everything because then they know they have it. And ultimately, you just have to be really careful with what you keep. You only keep the things that you use. If you have camping equipment and you have a tent and then you buy a new tent, you need to do something with that old tent. You need to sell it, donate it, whatever, repurpose it. But you need to declutter the things that you aren't using. And don't save something because you could either repurpose it right away or declutter it. Now, the instinct that I identify with the absolute most is the fear of death. This is one that has gotten me from a very young age, forever. I remember just thinking about the passage of time. I remember being 9 years old and turning 10 and thinking, now I'm in double digits. There we go. This is it, you know, and then turning 13, you know, like then I'm in the teens and you're in the teens for so long. And ultimately, it's just some of us are just very aware that time is passing. And that doesn't always sit well with us. So for me, I've talked about when my oldest was born and I was like, he's 3 days old, he's 4 days old. Then it was, he's a week old, he's 2 weeks old, you know, and then months, years, on and on and on. And time goes on and they grow out of clothes and you think, okay, well, I'll save this for the next baby. Well, when the last baby is ready to grow out of those things, you have a decision to make. And then you are letting go of babyhood. That isn't fun. I didn't find that fun. So basically, the fear of death is not just the fear of death, but it's the fear of change. It's the fear of time going on. It's the fear of having to let things go. It's the fear and the realization that nothing is permanent. Do we have to like it? No, but we do need to accept it. So with all of these instincts, you need to recognize which one or ones resonate with you the most. And you need to really have a deep discussion with yourself about what your priorities are. Is your priority having that clutter around you because it makes you secure? Or do you recognize that that clutter actually causes stress? And now when you look at it, you feel like you have lots of work to do, or that it's covered in dust and you don't like that. Or just that you are recognizing that you are having trouble letting things go. Or perhaps it's a combination of the clutter instinct with the fear of death. So you're looking at all of these dolls that you've had for 30 years or 40 years, and you're like, you know what? That's from a different season of life. And you need to recognize that we can't keep every season forever. It's not easy, but it is reality. I want you to take a hard look at where you fall with these instincts. I will put this video up here so you can watch more about this, because this is a topic I think a lot of people need to spend more time with. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.